updates here from Pop Turnitin, speaking to Michael Musi about Something Undone, which is available on CBC Gem. Welcome back to the show, sir. It's good to see you again.
Thank you for having me yet again.
I know. It's I think it's like your third or fourth. You're like a series regular at this point, right?
That's it. I'm Pop Turnitin family at this
Pop
point.
Turnitin family, absolutely. That's a good way of looking at it. So listen, a little bit of an interesting thing, because there are some people that have seen Something I've Done. It pops up, the trailers, they see familiarity. But this is basically an extended version that's available now at CBC Gem. We talked about it before. We did like the pre-interview, I'd say, right? Before the interview, can you explain what we can expect from this extended version?
Yeah, okay. So this is like the result of artists being really crafty and trying to find a way to make a TV show on a budget. So basically what had happened is we did season 1 of Something Undone during COVID, right? So it was one woman in one house. It was a really spooky 6-10-minute episode series that we thought maybe will go nowhere. Maybe people would like. We didn't know. We won a ton of awards, which really surprised us. We won Series Mania in France, South by Southwest. We premiered kind of all over the world at these festivals. And it just kind of like floored us because we had no idea that we would reach that audience. And then CBC gave us a second season. And then we did the second season from my character's perspective, the same timeline.
Yes.
That show came out there. But as you know, short form is not as popular as longer formats. People weren't really watching it as much as we had hoped. So then when we took it out to market to try and sell the 2 seasons, one of our producers said, what if we smash them together? It's the same timeline.
Yeah.
Create 6 half-hour episodes. And as soon as we did that, we had a ton of interest.
Yeah.
ITVX in the UK came on board, which was huge for us. And then we thought, you know what? Let's sell this show, get the money, finance the show through the sales, obviously find other avenues to finance this show, and create 4 more half-hour episodes, and let's attach the best actors we could think of. So, of course, Billy Campbell was a dream of ours to attach. And when Billy Campbell said yes to come on board, it was like, pardon what? And then Amanda Brugel came on board. Yeah. And I mean, the show has just like some of the best actors. It takes place in Newfoundland, a lot of it. So we were like, let's hire the best Newfoundland actors. They all said yes, which is crazy. Nicole Power, Sean Majumder, Sean Doyle, Mary Walsh, Tom Power from CBCQ, who did an interview with my character in the show. And then we created 10 half-hour episodes. So this TV series, this season 1, is now actually 3 years in the making. So It's a pretty wild journey for us. And we're just so happy to kind of share it with the world.
It's available on CBC Gem now. It dropped, right? It dropped
sure
4 days ago, right? Like on the 14th.
Yeah.
Dropped, right? Yeah. So
you got it.
That's awesome. We've talked about it before. Like, it always gets brought up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's truly 3 years of my life, you know, like I am nothing without Something Undone right now. But also, I mean, it's, to make a TV show, I'm sure people know is hard, but I don't think you realize how hard it is to make a TV show.
Yeah.
And the way that we have done it is quite unconventional. We actually just had a playback interview. The Playback magazine just did an interview. I think it's a great thing to check out if you want to see how crafty we got in trying to create a show with our means and our timeline.
Absolutely. You brought up something interesting that I agree on, but I feel like it can kind of be something, because I've noticed when you talk about short form content, I totally get what you're talking about in regards to that. I have seen, though, this, I would say, like, surge of people checking out short form content. And, like, for example, like Netflix is posting short films now, you know what I mean? And everything.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering if you've noticed that a little bit, because obviously, a lot of shorts are made as proof of concept, and you want to make like features and, mini series. But like, as someone really kind of in that creative space lately, Michael, what do you think about the current kind of state of short form content?
I think there's a couple of ways of looking at it. I think short form content is amazing when it hits. When it hits and it gets the attention, wonderful. I don't think people are seeking it out as much as they're seeking out, full length content. But
Absolutely.
When it hits, when you have something special, it can really be a calling card for you. And it can really, I've seen incredible short form content that I love, but I think people just don't look for it. So when it comes their way and it's amazing, I think when you make good art, it's going to find its audience, right? It's a little harder with short form content, but what short form content can do for you is really prove your capabilities and what you're able to do. And so I think that's what it's done for us. Is it was, like you said, it was a calling card, but it doesn't. But I love short form content. I tend to only watch it really when I'm like I just like end up binging a bunch
But
of
it's
short
also
form
the
content at
access
once.
too, though, right? Like you have to find it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to find it. CBC Gem has some great short form content on there. It's a great platform. Also, you know what? Shockingly, airplanes.
Yep.
Like airplanes have some good short films and stuff like that I've checked out that I've, and I sometimes go and look up, the Sundance winners and things like that. Like those are a great way to kind of get it. But also more importantly, it's usually pals in the industry that end up sharing something with you and you watch and you're like, this is amazing. And this could totally be a feature. But sometimes they could just stand alone as a short form content. And sometimes we don't have the time to consume a 2-hour film, and when it's, look, I'm a baby. I go to bed at 10 p.m. When it's 9 p.m. and I don't really want to watch a new movie or start a new show, pop on a couple of short episodes of something and you're done, right?
Absolutely. No, 100%. And yeah, no, I find it a very fascinating space right now in that industry. I think that it allows people to get very creative. I feel like also, like you said, they hit, but also knowing what you want to do is important too. Like I feel like if you go in with like a 12-minute, it's a proof of concept. I feel like you get excited about that and you make it a certain way. Sometimes you just have an idea walking down the street, you make a short, and then it's one of those things. But I want
to kind of see what hits.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about Something Undone because I find it interesting. I think we've talked about this before, but there's a lot of elements here: the horror, thriller, kind of like mystery, the self-reflection of these characters. Which one came first with this concept?
Yeah. So when we first did Something Undone, it was birthed out of the Creative Relief Fund from CBC. So during the pandemic, CBC put out that relief fund, and it was something that you could shoot in the tightest of COVID restrictions. So it started off as one woman in one house with a deep, dark family secret. Was Maddie was the first person to kind of bring up the idea of us pitching a thriller, and she was like, it's the dark secret that I won't give away from her family is loosely based on one from hers that she learned about later on in life and thought, what a horrifying thing about my family that I had no idea about. So she was like, what do we think about that? And then, because it came together so quickly, all we could do was pull things out of our lives. Yeah. So for me, it was like, what I contributed to it was, my mom died. I had to clean up my mom's house with my sister. Those are like the mundane, horrifying things in life that you don't look at as horror, because it's a part of life, but they're horrifying in the moment. Like cleaning out your dead parents' things is a traumatic, crazy experience that you go through where you're honestly kind of learning things about them through their things that you didn't really know about. Yep. So we brought that element into it. We brought Maddie's family's secret into it. And then what we really wanted to do was create a show that used sound in a way that was really unique and fresh.
Yeah.
And because we were a small show and we couldn't really afford to like bring a ton of actors on and it was COVID, we said, what if we kept the scares strictly audio?
It's funny you mentioned that because that's definitely a standout of this for sure.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's what we worked really hard on the audio on this show. And she's a Foley artist, right? She creates sounds so sound with the family secret. That's kind of where the idea started. And then when we decided to go true crime, like I think everybody thinks we wanted to make a true crime show first, but I don't really think that was the order of things.
I don't think it was a true crime first. Like I feel like it has it, but I got what you talked about, kind of the self-reflection, figuring things out aspect of it for sure.
And I think you got that because you watched season 1 of the web series. But I think when people watch it as a whole now, it starts with my journey, my character's journey, doing the podcast. So I think people think, oh, it's true crime first. It's true crime, which it is in lots of ways. It is,
and it's very scary. It didn't start that way. It's scary. It's got scary moments.
Yeah, it's spooky. It's spooky for sure. The Joe storyline is spooky for sure. Yeah, but it's a mystery. It's a psychological thriller. I think there's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on, and it's exciting to think about because I feel like it's one thing to say I want to make a show that's going to tick all the boxes, without making it forced. You know what I mean by that? Like you want to have a show that's like true crime, horror, drama, podcast, right? All of that. And it's like, are you just going to throw in the podcast to throw in the podcast? Like, it's like, no, how do we throw in the podcast to make it part of the story. And I think you all did an incredible job with that, if you know what I mean, right?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. It was a lot of like mind mapping and creating the show. But like the thing that was great for us is that in season 1, because she was always on the phone with Farid having these conversations, we completely created his storyline, even though we didn't really necessarily hear it, but we wanted to make sure that it all made sense. So we created the entire Farid storyline, the whole crime that happened in Newfoundland, all of that in season 1, so that when we got to season 2 of the podcast, we already knew it. And then when we got to the full, what we are now calling season 1, the television series, we had already done all of that hard digging and creating the work. So, you know, it as much as it can sometimes feel like we've kind of stitched things together, it really was a lot of hard work on making sure that it felt like a cohesive, one season, because most people are being introduced to this as one season. And I personally think it works the best in this format.
100%. The reason why I'm kind of smiling a little bit too is because I know that we always had, like, I can't even imagine the Zoom calls of you and Maddie about like the mind mapping. Like when you said mind mapping, I started smiling because
yeah. I mean, the first time we started writing it, we went away to a cottage, and our brains hurt so much from trying to create this story because there were so many storylines that me and Maddie would just give ourselves like deadlines, and we would only allow ourselves to eat a good dinner and have a glass of wine if we hit our deadline, because we were so like, it was so easy to just be like, I need a nap or I need to walk away from this for a second. But we really kind of pushed through, and I'm really super proud of the show.
Oh, absolutely. Last question before we wrap up. And I'm wondering, because different worlds, different genres and everything, but I feel like it naturally happens where you take kind of experiences and learning experiences from other projects naturally to like new projects. So I'm just curious, when you play the, Terrence on, Kim's Convenience, like, yeah, different characters, very over the top and everything. Something Undone is like its whole other world, right? But like, do you take a bit of that to Something Undone, or are they completely kind of different kind of experiences?
I don't think I necessarily take characters to other characters, but I obviously take myself to different characters.
The experience, not the character. No, there's.
Oh,
can you imagine Terrence in that show?
I know, just in short shorts, just trying to investigate a murder. Yeah, I mean, I learned so much on Kim's Convenience because it was my first time doing a full TV series. I was there for 5 years. I've met some of my best friends on that show. I mean, Nicole Power plays a huge part in Something Undone, not only as an actor, but the amount of work that she helped behind the camera, just being a pal. Yeah. What I've really learned about that, what I really learned and what we decided to take to Something Undone as we were now the people, as we were the leads on the show, and as we were the people also behind the cameras, executive producing, was how do we make this the most incredible environment for everybody on set? Even though it's a horrifying story that we're telling about murder and dead moms and all that stuff, how can we keep it light and refreshing on set to make sure that people are excited to tell the story and are happy to be there? And I take pride in the fact that we really try to set an amazing environment for our crew and for the people behind it. Yeah. And what's the most touching to me in this time right now is our crew is posting about our show right now so much. And that to me like warms my heart like crazy, because I want them to feel ownership on the show, because it was such a collaborative experience. There were people really poured their entire
what do they say? No crew, no show? Like I've heard of that a few times.
I mean, truly, like we have one of our production assistants, Emily, like she's been posting about the show with such pride. And I think what people don't understand is that like the amount of work that Emily did behind the camera, and she doesn't get the recognition that we get, right? The amount of work that she put into the show, the amount of stress that she kind of endured to try and make this happen, to create our dreams. She should absolutely take ownership on this show. She worked her butt off for it, And I love that they feel that excited to talk about it.
Absolutely, and I can't wait. And it's so amazing with the fact that they could see this kind of new extended kind of version of it, this like mini series, so to speak. I guess I don't know. It's like, what are you all calling this one now? Is it a mini series technically?
Well, now it's just a series. Like it's just season 1. I mean, look, if people love this show and it keeps, it keeps going on the trail that it has been, like, we don't know, there might be more Something Undone, right? So we're not, and if you watch the show, you'll know that we kind of, I think you'll have a very satisfying end to the season, but you'll also hopefully want more.
Absolutely. And CBC Gem in Canada, and then they could check out all the, like, what can you say
other
about
territories,
the international territories? You said in UK.
Yeah, right now it's in the UK. It's on ITVX.
Yep.
In the UK, it's heading to SBS Australia later this month, and then it's going to be we're rolling out other territories along the journey. You know, like we're slowly rolling them out, so you'll be able to catch it hopefully soon enough, kind of in every territory.
Awesome. No, I'm so happy for you, man. I know all the work you put into this. Michael, so great chatting with you as always, man. Thanks for coming back on the show.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Your Instagram is just your name if people want to keep up to date with everything, right?
That's right. Yeah. First, last name.
Awesome. Well, this has been Pop Turnitive, youtube.com/Pop Turnitive. For previous episodes, until next time, it's Michael Musi and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Pop Turnitive. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Pop Turnitive on YouTube.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.